Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to Tool Show with me, Master Dan, the Journeyman shooter. And I'm here today to talk to you guys over a little coffee time segment. I figured it's a gorgeous morning, why not get out here? And I'm up in Crescent Heights, and it's a beautiful area, a great place to talk, and a great place to have some good scenery in the background while we do our talk here, so you guys have something to look at, and you can zone out and not listen to me the whole time here, which is great. And not just kidding, you guys should try to hopefully listen. You can see the Rocky Mountains are kind of popping right there in the background. I figured it's a great time to get out. Why not have a little talk? And what could I talk about? What's something that's kind of important that a lot of us have to deal with? And I remember I was a young guy, and I was working in Red Deer, basically Red Deer, Alberta, and it's kind of middle of nowhere between two big cities, well, bigger cities. And I was working there, and I was doing a lot of smaller like houses. We were doing a lot of residential, commercial projects for electrical, and I'm wiring everything up. And I had this journeyman, and his name is Tony Sexsmith, Sexsmith by name, Sexsmith by trade. And no, I'm just kidding. Don't tell him that I said that. But he's a really great guy and really nice guy. He's really hard worker, just an amazing guy to learn from. And I was lucky enough that I got to learn a lot of residential, really great lessons from my buddy Tony Sexsmith. And so I was in Red Deer, and Tony once told me, because I was wiring everything up, and in electrical there's certain things that you can do to protect yourself as well, because electricity is a really dangerous thing. Like you could fry yourself, you could kill yourself. It doesn't take much, especially if your heart's not very good, because that's the problem with electricity. Is it's basically, it depends on who you are. Everybody gets affected differently by it sometimes, but like it doesn't take much to stop somebody's heart who doesn't work out, or who's not keeping in shape, or who's just not ready for it, basically. Especially if you're not able to take that shock, like that's a serious situation. Same with, that's why most tasers, it's usually the fall that kills somebody, but most tasers, the people that they do end up killing, they don't have the proper heart for a taser, that's a whole nother story, because I've created my own kind of taser ideas that send a small electrical impulse through the body, finding out if it's big enough to be tased, and if it isn't, then it doesn't fire it, or it fires a smaller amount. And you can have that. I really don't care. I'm not really. I had a friend that asked me that. They're like, well, why do you not care about if people steal your inventions or your ideas? And it's like, well, I was the one that created it, so I really don't care. It's like, I know money's not everything. I really want to work on the show, and that takes money, but I really don't care that much about the money. So that's just why I wanted to do the whole show and the project. But yeah, basically it's just one of those things, is electricity's dangerous, and when you're hooking it up, there's certain ways that you can protect yourself and have fail safes. If something goes wrong, you always want to have, because that's the thing, electricity, it takes the fastest path to ground. That's part of electricity. It's just 101, is if it's going to shock you, it's going to go through the ground. So what you do first is, when you're hooking up, there's 3 wires that usually go to every plug, and there's a ground, which is green, there's a white, which is a neutral or common wire, and then there's the black, which is your hot. So that's the one that feeds that power through. It comes back on that white wire, so it goes out on the black wire, back on the white wire, and then there's a ground, the green, that protects you. That's your fail safe, and you always want to ground that to something metal, and you got to do that just to make sure that you're safe, because that's, if it doesn't go through that white back, it's going to go through that green to whatever it's touching, and that could be you if it's not grounded out or something's not safe there. So you want to make sure you're protecting yourself, protect your heart. But that's the one part about it, is he always said you're a creature of habit, because one day I was actually wiring stuff up, and I'd go with whatever was the closest. I think it was just a small box, so I'd pick the white wire first, then I did the black, and then I did the ground. There was no power to it yet, but it was just part of it, is I just kind of did the best that I could, and it was a tight box, so you had to do what you had to do in there. And he kind of looked at me, he's like, well, why'd you just do the white and then the black and then the green? And then I said, well, it was easiest. And he said, well, we're all creatures of habit, and what you do is, like, if you practice something, then that's what you're going to do later on when it comes to one of those situations where it is live, and you have to do it live, because there's certain times where you can't shut off electricity. And I know that there's a lot of apprentices that would never believe that that's a true statement, but there are just certain emergencies, like especially if you can't find a panel and you're the only one there, and it's life or death, somebody could die because they get electrocuted. You have to make things safe. You can't just walk away. So sometimes you have to find out certain ways to protect that, and you have to do things live. And you can't find a panel if you're in a major, like, downtown area. You can't find a panel that's locked up in a back room, so you have to be able to make that safe and do the proper thing. And the easiest way to do that is just follow steps, and that's creature of habit. You go ground first because that's your path back, then you go neutral, or well, that's your path for protection, then you go neutral, which is your path back, then you go hot, which feeds up the whole circuit. So that way you're protecting yourself, you're protecting everything else, and you're being smart. And that's what you want. You always want to have some kind of fail-safe. It's like if you're parachuting, you want to have a backup parachute or reserve chute just in case. You never know what's going to go wrong. And it's the same with electrical. You're a creature of habit, so you want to make sure you're doing it the proper way if you ever have to do it the other way. And it's just like in life. That's why certain people get to just the habits. You sit around watching TV all day and you don't go out and work out, or you don't go out and keep in shape, and that's usually what ends up stopping your heart in the trades. If you're not able to like keep in shape and you're not able to work out, or you're not able to climb flights of stairs because your heart hurts, then yeah, it's going to be bad. Or if you're just eating greasy foods every night, it's those kind of things add up, and they all add up to bad heart problems. And I know in the trades, like especially with the electrical, there's a lot of it's a retirement trade. So a lot of these guys started in the 70s and 80s, and now they're all retiring. And now all these young guys that had different options, like we could have went to law school, or we could have became doctors, but we decided to go in the trades and earn something, actually do something with our lives. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's great, honest, hard work, and you actually build something. There's going to be a legacy left after the time that you're done, but that's just it. Is these older guys, they're all retiring. They need young guys to come in and take over, and it's tough because if you're kind of getting lazy and you're not out there and you're not the same as they were, then you're going to have a lot of trouble. So you got to listen to them, and you got to make sure that you're paying attention, because yeah, you're a creature of habit. If you just kind of leave that stuff and you let it go and you forget about all these major lessons that people are teaching you, you're going to be in trouble. So try to build yourself some good habits, get a good routine, eat well, and take care of yourself. Start working out, because especially I know there's a lot of people laid off right now, and it's tough because that's what construction is. You're always working yourself out of a job, but you got to keep in shape while you're off, because you're going to be called back pretty soon. And once you get back, you're going to have to do some hard work. And if you're not ready for it and you're not in shape, it's going to be a tough one. And that's what goes back to that retirement age. Is there's a lot of guys that pass away on site because you're not in the same shape you were when you were 30, and you might have been sitting around for a while, and then you get called upon to actually put on some force there, and your heart goes or something happens. And I've seen it a lot of times, especially up north in the oil patch. There's a lot of older guys. The retirement age is still really high, and it's tough, especially with hearts, and yeah, you got to be very careful. So that's why you always want to have those fail-safes. You're a creature of habit. It's the same with addiction. There's a lot of people that it's just easy to start doing drugs because it feels good and it's great, and you have friends that are around you that they all want you. Yeah, misery loves company, man, and that's what it is. So if you're out there, these guys that are down and out, they're going to want you to come and be down and out with them, because yeah, people love company when they're down and out. And I don't know why. It's just part of what it is. So that's why you want to make sure that you're protecting yourself and you have some kind of backup plan, because you can't just wander aimlessly and expect to accomplish a whole bunch of stuff. You got to actually do stuff with life, and those kind of bad habits are what's going to hold you back from being something better. Like, especially if you're sitting around, why not do something? And I was thinking about that the other day. It's like, well, what could I do right now that would get me something later? And why not edit the show? Why not rate something for the show? Or why not make up some kind of plan for the show, or anything? I could do so many things. And it's like, just like you could start painting. You could, build something. Because imagine what you could build if you put that same amount of time in when you're sitting around watching TV as if you're just kind of sitting there. You build something, paint something, and sell it for $1 million. There you go. Invest that into the next big project, and you're laughing. So that's all I wanted to talk about. Is basically it's easy to become a creature of habit and get into those bad habits and negative habits, but why not make some positive habits? Why not turn it around? Why not do something good with your actual time and be smart? Because that's what it is. You got to be smart, and you got to have some good habits, and good habits will get you places. So for Tool Show, I'm Master Dan, the Journeyman shooter. Get out there and make some good habits.